of Allah. Yesterday we touched upon a very basic topic and we discussed the idea of Imam Hussein. This was the topic of yesterday. His movement of reformation in society. We discussed that society back then. Imam Hussein saw that society back then needed some sort of reformation. And we discussed what the meaning of reformation is. We talked about the dynamics of the reformation. And then we and look at, and it was the theme of prayer, how important prayer was. Today what is it? Well, according to they see a theory is basically based on observation. Now you may ask, play a very significant role in how we are ascending right now for developing knowledge. Because right now we are living in the West, we are studying at schools, we study many theories, and without us really knowing, we are building upon theories that are in fact illogical and don't make any sense. So today I'm going to be discussing and talking an individual. He's an astronomer with the name of Edward Hubble. This individual basically, he used to look at different celestial objects in space, stars, galaxies, so on and so forth. In biology, we have something called, those who have taken biology and maybe even chemistry, there's something called the electromagnetic spectrum. It's basically a scale, a spectrum. And on this scale are the different waves that exist in this universe. Radio waves, X-rays, gamma rays, so on and so forth, and visible light. Within the visible light, there is something called a redshift and something called a blue shift. A redshift basically is when something is going far away from you. And a blue shift is when something is heading towards you. So Edward Hubble, and I'm kind of building upon things to tell you how the Big Bang theory was actually proposed, the foundations and beginnings. So before they proposed the Big Bang theory, Edward Hubble, when he looked at the celestial objects in space, the different galaxies, he noticed that all the waves of light are redshifted. And that basically made him think that, you know what, because they are redshifted, what does that mean? That means all the galaxies and all the stars and everything that exists beyond Earth is basically, it's not heading towards Earth, it's going farther away. So from this, they proposed the Big Bang Theory. So the Big Bang Theory, basically, it's made up of three main elements. The first one, he said, because all the stars and space itself, because it's expanding, inflating, what that means is that one day there must have been a day where they started at one point. That's number one. Number two, we know that in chemistry, if you compress a gas, what happens is that the temperature within that becomes very elevated. So because the universe is made up of many gases, what happens is that because it began space itself, because we said that it's redshifted, so the universe is expanding, and because it's expanding, it must have started at a single place, which they call the singularity. So this singularity is made up of several gases and several elements. So what they said is that the singularity, because it's very small and compressed, what that means is that the temperature within this singularity is very elevated. That's number two. Now I'm trying to explain to you the Big Bang Theory, and then I'm gonna show you the flaws within this theory, to show you that this theory that itself is being taught to students, and we are developing and believing in this theory. It actually has many flaws, and as a result, we must not submit to the theories that we hear. Number three, they said because the universe began from a small singularity, there must have been an explosion that caused this singularity to inflate, to expand, and from this expansion, temperature decreased, and then over time, stars and planets over billions of years formed. Now, some of you might say, okay, and what is the problem with this Big Bang Theory? The problem is this. They say, and this is very crucial to pay attention to, they are saying that the Big Bang Theory, sorry, the universe began from a small dense ball. And from within this ball, when it expanded, it inflated, and the space within it got greater, and over billions of years, different chemicals reacted, and they caused the formation of the stars and etc. What that means, indirectly, they are saying that this small dense ball existed in nowhere, because this small dense ball is the cause of space and the universe, and we know that everything that exists is within the universe. So what that means is that when the universe was small and not formed and not this great, it was in the middle of nowhere. Can you imagine for a second having something in the middle of nowhere? Having something in the middle of nothing. Is that accepted logically? Is that scientifically accepted? No law will accept the Big Bang Theory. And that's why, because we got to pay attention, it's a theory. It's not a fact. It's a theory. And that's why this Big Bang Theory, in my opinion, I think it's going to be revised soon, because it's incorrect. Give it some time. Let technology ascend. Let the mentalities ascend. And look at what's going to happen. That's number one. Number two, the theory of evolution introduced by Darwin. And by the way, some might ask, why are you talking about theories and Darwin and stuff? Inshallah, soon, the upcoming days, I'm gonna tackle the topic of atheism. I'm gonna talk about creationism, and I want to build upon things slowly. Because I have half an hour, so I don't want to introduce and crumble a series of topics into one topic. The theory of evolution, I think most of you have heard this theory proposed by Darwin. The theory of evolution, long story short, says that there are some things called selective pressure. A selective pressure is basically pressure emitted by the environment on a person's genotype, on a person's genes and alleles. And over time, these pressures that are emitted on the genes will cause a change in a person's phenotype, appearance. Some might say, okay, what's wrong with that? Evolution is something. Yes, in Islam, we believe in evolution. The Quran says, وَلَقَدْ خَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَطْوَارًا. But it's not the same evolution proposed by Darwin. An organism will not change from not having wings and then after, 2,000 years or 5,000 years or even a million years, they're going to have wings. If we apply, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of the second law of thermodynamics. It states that disorder is always, the second law of thermodynamics is stating is that disorder in the universe over time is always increasing. What does disorder mean? Basically putting something in a disorder state, in a damaged state. So for example, I can break this glass of water more faster and easier than putting it back. I can break my phone more easier than putting it back into its original form. This is called disorder. So disorder is always increasing in the universe. Keep that in mind. This is the second law of thermodynamics, according to science. Now, when we take a look at evolution, evolution states that the organisms that evolve, they evolve to a higher class state. So for example, if you have an organism that is affected or can be affected by a virus, if this organism were to evolve, it's going to evolve into a state where it's not going to be affected by this virus or this bacteria. So what that means is that evolution always happens in a way that this certain organism evolves to a better state. This is according to the theory of evolution and natural selection. So if we apply the idea of the second law of thermodynamics, which states disorder is always increasing, to the idea of evolution, which states that, oh, you know what, this organism is evolving to a better state, it's contradictory. So evolution violates science. I'm not sure where are the scientists from this. I ask myself, where are the scientists from this fact? So as a result, okay, that's one part. Let me mention something else. If evolution is really true, authentic, and you should believe in it, because a lot of people do. I asked them this question. The selective pressures emitted on the organisms happen at different rates and different times. It's not logical to say, oh, a selective pressure just hit a whole species of or a whole family of organisms. No, they happen at different rates. What that means, if they happen at different rates and at different times, the organisms should evolve differently. The species should evolve. We don't see this. We see apes and we see humans. Okay, where is this gap? If it really happened over millions of years, we should see tons and tons of different species. Where are they? There's a gap. This violates logic. Or doesn't it? It does. Now from this, and this is basically my own investigations. Alhamdulillah, I'm trying to compile a book right now, and I'm tackling a couple of theories in which unfortunately I see the youth not only loving it, but they act upon it. Unfortunately. So some will ask, why are you introducing this topic for today? I am introducing this topic for today because I want to ask my brothers and my sisters in faith, and I want to tell you guys that sometimes there are things enforced upon us. Our beloved Imam says, through proper education, knowledge is gained. He didn't say through education, knowledge is gained. Through proper education. What is proper education? Is there education that is improper? Yes, there is. So, I want to tell my brothers and sisters, sometimes there are things that are enforced upon us. When I go to school right now, and I'm taught something that is illogical, I cannot stand in front of my teacher and say, oh, this is wrong. I cannot say. This is a curriculum under the policy. I must be educated, and for me to pass, and to enter university, and to live, and to get a job, I must study this. But this, I don't believe in it. Too bad, so sad. That's their answer for you. I cannot confront the teacher and say, I'm not going to study this today. You can't. Maybe you can, but the consequences will not be good. So, back to my topic. There are things that are enforced upon us, especially here, because we are living in a society where the values, where the understandings, where the norms are different. Of that from our belief, from our values and ideology. That being said, we must activate this process, the filtration process, within our aql, intellect. Not everything we see, not everything we hear, we submit to directly. Everything you hear, apply it on the religious law, see if it's accepted. Apply it on the scientific law, see if it's accepted. Apply it onto the logical law. Apply it onto your intellect. Apply it onto philosophical laws. People just, and I see a lot of them, because I have debates every single day with different people, with youth especially. And I've seen some of them, they stand up and they have this audacity to defend theories that don't make sense. Why? It's because, and that's why I try to talk to youth when they're still young, because sometimes when you believe in something, it becomes one with you. You cannot leave it anymore. You cannot leave it. You cannot divorce what becomes one with you. And this is a threat to our ideology. Because when you have a doctrine that's called Islam, and when you have a different doctrine, a series of linked ideologies that are not compatible with Islam, eventually these one day will clash. So in order for us to refrain and to keep ourselves safe and secure from corrupt ideologies, from teachings that are unethical, from being affected by different teachings that don't make sense, we must stand up. Do you know that every single one of us, and I'm speaking to my brothers, my sisters, to the youth, every single one of us right now must have a stance, an idea on different theories or different historical events. And they could be different. You could have an opinion on the Big Bang Theory different than your brother, than your friend. And over time we can gather and discuss. But what's dangerous is when you don't know. When you have an empty space, an empty capacity, and this capacity gets filled with wrong information. This becomes a threat to you, to your ideological level. And this could affect your social collaboration. And by the way, I'm ready if you guys, if my brothers really want to one day open a debate and discuss about this topic, evolution, creationism. I'm ready to have a long debate with you guys, or we can discuss and view the elements, the dynamics of these things, because they are very significant in these societies. I ask Allah on this blessed day to help us, the Shia of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to ascend in knowledge, ma'rifah, to ascend in our responsibilities. We have many responsibilities upon us, and we are neglecting it, especially the youth. I ask Allah on this blessed day to help us proceed, help myself proceed with my responsibility upon me. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Aqulu qawli hadha wa astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.